integrated water management plan with one, and it's going to be reviewed just a little bit more by Cal City and staff. But as mentioned earlier, that Cal City is an independent basin. It's not connected with our Lancaster, Palmdale Basin, and we've been a member of the integrated plan for a number of years in the Lancaster Palmdale area, and as such, it helped ascertain a grant of $5.4 million, and as many know, and maybe some are not really familiar, but it's made up of most all of the communities within our basin, the cities, independent water agencies, and you get input. And what is done there is not binding on anyone. It's recommendations, and they do have the ability to apply for grants. And if Cal City in Mojave, they've seen advantages of having such a plan, so they'd be able to apply for grants and best use their water resources. And so, in discussing the request at the committee level, the committee is making the recommendation to be part of that, and staff has looked at that, and Cal City has some very good reasoning. So it'll probably be appropriate to get a little bit more in detail what Cal City in that area on our boundary on our eastern, northeastern boundaries of Avek, what advantages it would be for Avek and also our customers in that area.
We wanted to bring you this presentation on the Fremont Basin Irwin. The Fremont Basin has not had an Irwin group. We are essentially the whole and donut. If you look up at the map, you'll notice the Antelope Valley group to the south of us, and you'll notice Kern and Kern basically surrounding our basin. There are not a lot of government entities, and the state requires that the state requires that at least 3 legislative organizations be involved in this. In the formation of the group, that's the core group of it. Essentially, this group is an MOU-based group, and the MOU has to include at least 3. In our area, there actually only are 4 agencies that would qualify: California City, Mojave Public Utility District, and Kern County, or Kern County Water Agency. And we recognize that Kern County Water Agency and Avek a long time ago had put a dividing line down so they didn't step on each other's contract with the state water project. And then Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency would be the 4 possibles. What has happened word from Dan that I would be able to operate this, and electronics and I do not get along. So just tell you right up front. Our basin has some interesting characteristics. There are significant water banking opportunities due to the geology of our basin. A lot is not known about our basin. There are some trace elements in our basin that could create problems for water banking. However, we don't have an extensive amount of development in our basin, and we don't currently have evidence of overdraft, so we're not in a place. Our basin currently is not in adjudication, and so our first goal for this group is actually to create a clearly defined basin definition with the dynamics to it, which would open the basin up for possible expansion of water banking from other people whose pipes may flow through or who choose to use the basin as a bank. We do have some issues with arsenic abatement in some parts of the basin. California City does not have arsenic issues in its groundwater. However, Mojave has reached the point where their MCLs have exceeded, and they're now doing mitigation for that. And we are also in the process of putting together nitrate management for tertiary water treatment. Again, being in the desert, we're trying to utilize water here because we're about half born. Right now, we have received RAC recognition by the state. We do exist as an entity. However, we do not have the formal MOU that's required. That document has yet to be drafted. There are several good examples across the state, and we would propose sitting down with Avek to determine, and with our other partner, Mojave PUD, to determine what component parts would be in it and how the group would actually operate. We have a lot of common interest in this basin, and a lot of things that could be beneficial out there. And we would be looking at moving towards some regional partnership, infrastructure partnering, both with water line movement through and basin development for groundwater. And so we would hope that you would consider moving forward with us, and so we would make the next step and sit down and start looking at the actual MOU document itself.
A large map there in the very beginning, but is that California City proper, or is that all of the area around it, which would be the communities south of Phillips Road? And
that is the Fremont Basin. All the other areas of sorry.
Basically, first of all, we've done the MOUs, so I mean, a lot of us are familiar with the MOUs. First, we get together three parties. When the three parties get together, we're going to map out the boundaries, create a legal description, and within that legal description, we'll define what basin it is. So there'll be input from everybody to come in to basically have their say-so regarding that. And then once we defined it, then it's adopted, and then we move forward.
It is the Fremont drainage basin, less the incursions from Kern County and the Antelope Valley, which have moved into probably 20% of the Fremont drainage basin. So less the incursions, there is not anticipated to be any sort of boundary issues with current existing basins.
So
it's not just these 3 or 4 organizations that's developing
No.
the plan. It will be all stakeholders in the area.
All stakeholders, yes.
In the area would be able
Yes.
to participate in the plan.
Yes, and in fact, the key to the Irwin concept is it's really the only way to get a state water plan. The state's way too diverse to try and mandate something from Sacramento. The idea here is that the local areas will be able to get together. In the case of the Antelope Valley Irwin, which we also are a member of, but we're not a MOU participant in. You've seen organizations get together and support each other and make decisions for the benefit of the region. And I got to honestly tell you, there's been some surprising decisions made out of the group for the benefit of the region. And that's what we're hoping to do in the Fremont Basin, is be able to look at the benefits to the entire basin from all the stakeholders.
Hydraulic, the studies that have previously prepared in Fremont in the valley. And there's a lot of information that's been gathered through the years. Avek was part of the information gathering in 1972, and there's some information available. USGS has prepared information. Other independent engineers have prepared information. A lot of it hasn't been compiled and looked at independently. Try to get a total overall picture of what may or may not be accurate numbers in the basin. In California City, their desires of trying to get a little bit more updated and compiled information, and they've engaged or in the process of engaging an engineering firm to review that information, and they've asked us if we would be interested in participating, and committees indicated that they would, and we're recommending that they would contribute $10,000 for that study. And it's our understanding the study is going to, depending on exactly the first phase is going to be $25,000, and approximately in the second phase, maybe a little bit, go for another 25. So, but at this point, we're recommending $10,000. The information, you say it's not going to be new information, but it will be compiled and try to get it in one report to try to get that accurate information.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Oh.
Arlen's making a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, and would be contributed to the integrated water plan we're gonna be doing, right? This information would be tied into the, tied into this, right? I mean, it's gonna be.
Mr. Will, could you answer?
Actually, I just want to clarify, the first part of the presentation talked about the ERWIMP and developing, and one of the comments that was made was we're unadjudicated, there is no overdraft of the basin as of yet. One of the things that we're looking at as far as the independent hydrologist review is on the project that's currently under consideration from the Kern County Planning Commission, which is the Fremont Valley Preservation Project, which is proposing overdrafting the basin by over 100,000 acre-feet per year for the next 10 years to take over 1 million acre-feet out of the basin. What we're hoping to do, and yesterday the City Council for California City took action to engage Wildermuth Environmental Incorporated to do an independent analysis of the data that has been submitted to the Kern County Planning Commission to try to slow this a little bit down and try to be able to become a little more reasonable in the actual taking of water out of the basin on that. Right now, the Indian Wells Valley Water District has, as of yesterday, signed on into part of this payment. It's a cooperation agreement. The Mojave Air and Spaceport District has done so for concerns. Mojave PUD, I expect to sign on their meeting on the 23rd. And then, of course, California City and Avek. Avek is what we're looking for right now. The total price for this independent review is $20,000, and we would ask you for no more than $5,000.
Us being part of something that is going to try to stop something, if that's what the ultimate plan is here, is to stop. AVAC has no position or no right to get involved in trying to stop something or prevent Kern County Planning Commission or Kern County itself, because they're the body who issues the permits. AVAC does not issue permits. We have no jurisdiction on pulling water out of there and bringing that water into our basin. It's a cut-dry situation, we know that. That water has to stay in Kern County, has to stay on that north side of the county line. So if we are looking to get into a battle or a fight with a group of people, this agency has no business, no right to do that.
And we are not.
I'm making a public statement right now that is something that I will personally be against. I am going to support the money to further look at the study, but I am not going to, right now, over $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 go up against Kern County or Kern County Planning Commission when I have not personally been involved in, or us, this agency has not been involved in any decision making or been involved with any of the meetings whatsoever to make a professional decision on that. But that's the only thing I want to make that.
Finance committee, we should probably include some wells in that area. We've kind of ignored that situation because it's not in our backyard as much. But I think gathering some new information is in the existing contract we have.
In the committee meeting, which this is coming off guard, and that's the reason why I'm saying this, is because I cannot believe at this point with this thing it's proposing up there that USGS hasn't been involved. I can't figure this out. I mean, here, the Kern County Regional Planning Commission and the Kern Board of Supervisors are looking at possibly going forward with this plan, but yet the USGS has not been involved with part of the study. That's why I would not want to make a study, because they should have been involved with this whole thing from the beginning.
They're not going to involve themselves by themselves. It's going to take somebody to pay them to do that. And we've been doing that for this basin, but that basin is in our district too, so we should probably include a few of those.
So why hasn't Kern County paid for it?
Yeah, why is it?
I mean,
It's gotta be somebody.
The plan, either it's regional planning, or whether it's Lahontan, or whether it's Kern County, I mean, an Edwards Air Force Base, I mean, that agency should have been involved. Okay, okay.
We have a comment from the public?
Yes, county is using for the EIR, based on the proponent's information. That information's wrong. It is in overdraft. It was in overdraft ever since our Sierra. There's a lot of people here that know that. No matter how much money you spend on your report will not change what is going to happen with Kern County. They're going to vote to approve or not approve this, regardless of any other report, because they choose to use this report for their data. They will not even acknowledge the fact that we've been in a drought for 2 years, that we're in an extreme drought. Just this morning, the Kern County Board of Supervisors declared Kern in an extreme drought, and they're seeking state funds to try to help fix it. You can't take 114,000 acre feet a year, up to 1 million acre feet, out of an overdrafted aquifer and not affect the whole area. Cal City is actually cutting off their nose to spite their face on this.
Any more comments?
Try to speak up just in case. There we go. Here's water supply. And this is kind of the bad news. This is not improved since the last board meeting. State water project allocation is 5%, which means for Avek, I think it's about 7,000 acres. We do have, just looking at our portfolio, we do have some carryover from 2013, so we have an allocation available from last year that we hadn't used yet at about 12,000 acre feet, and that's theoretically in San Luis, so that's available to us. We also have locally banked and water right water here locally, and we have other sources that, further we get into the dry year, if it remains dry, they will probably establish a dry year program, and there's an opportunity to buy water there. If it continues to get, critical, we'll continue to try to exercise other options. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now for our water supply. For the Northern Sierra snowpack, right now it's at 19% of average for this date. They did a snow survey. They do an official snow survey on the 1st of January, and that's kind of what they came up with, is 19%. So it's a very bad snowpack thus far. They have a forecast with the Water Resources Control Board. They categorize years in either wet, above normal, dry, and below normal and critical. And right now it's bad enough to where the forecast is critical. Oroville is at 56% of historical average, which has dropped from the last time we talked, and San Luis is at 47% and that's historical average. The storage at Oroville continues to decline. The blue line is the actual storage. The red line is the flood control envelope, so we could be storing that much. But it's interesting to look at where we are now versus where we were last January at this time. That that dotted line, that vertical dotted line, kind of shows where the first of the year. So we were over 2.4 million, 2.5 million at this point. We're right down to about half of that. This is San Luis, so this is water that we've got south of the delta, and this is the dark blue is the DWR share, and that's where our carryover, that 12,000 I mentioned, that's where that carryover is. This is the Northern Sierra 8-station index. What they do is, you'll notice the map up there in the upper left-hand corner shows all the places that they measure this, and it gives them a feel for what the State Water Project might be able to develop. If you look at the current daily precipitation, 3.3, you'll notice that it's right on that red line, and that red line is 1976-77. And you'll notice that it's also flat. This is a few days ago. Nothing has happened since the 9th, and I looked at the 10-day forecast, and there's nothing in the forecast. So I would imagine that land is going to that line is going to continue to go flat. So we're going to be below what any of the historical averages have been at this point. State water project issues, the Bay Delta plan, conservation plan, you know, this big, huge document. I was in the Chief Counsel's office of the Department of Water Resources, and I noticed all these binders, and it was probably a set of binders from here to that wall for the plan. And I thought, wow, that's a big document. Then I turned around, I looked over, and there's some more binders on that wall. There was another 3 or 4 feet of binders. It's a huge document. They're in the comment period now to try to get public comments on the plan. Tomorrow I will be in Sacramento on this water supply contract extension negotiation. We're continuing to work on that, and I've been updating you on that. That's to get an extension on the contract, because right now our contract expires in 2035. You may think 2035 is a long ways off, but when you're selling, you have to have a funding source to sell bonds beyond that. So that's only 21 years, and that means that you would have to sell bonds for 21 years. And when you're doing big projects, that just isn't long. So we're negotiating to extend that contract. Right now, it's mainly accounting type things, you know, what funding buckets these monies would be in and so forth. But the big ticket item is how long we're going to extend the contract. You may have seen some news that the department has established a drought management team. They had a press conference a day or 2 ago and a workshop. So they're starting to gear up for the dry year program. We haven't seen a lot of discussion or anything from that yet, but they're starting to get engaged in a dry year program. State water contractors contractor board meeting is this week. Mike and I will be there on Thursday for the board meeting. On Wednesday, I'm also meeting with the Director of Water Resources to talk about that 12,000 that's unallocated, that 12,000 in Table A. And I'll be going up there with Palmdale to kind of make the argument that the Antelope Valley is an adjudicated, we're in the process of adjudication. We're willing to pay for the water. We're willing to step up to the plate. So we'd like to see it allocated to the Antelope Valley. Operations, we've got, and these are the deliveries: Quartz Hill at 10, Rosamond's at 3, MGD, East Side's at 1.5, and our Palmdale connection is at 1.3. And I think those have all dropped just a little bit since the last time we talked.
How's Palmdale supplying us water right now? Is it through the
Probably through their well.
The stretch of the canal, and then they utilized it elsewhere. This year they're projecting, and this is just state project, 600,000 acre feet from wells into the aqueduct to be distributed to customers. Andrew and I were just talking about it before.
You just think that the 800,000 would have to do anything?
Yeah, that's really, yeah. We, continue to have dry conditions in the Delta, and that has affected our water quality, but it's been fairly stable. It's not good, but it's been stable. Our next testing for THMs is in February. And that concludes my report.